Alright, so let's go ahead and draw this curve out. Let's go ahead and we're going to go to Create Curve, Draw Cubic by CVs. And I'm going to snap this curve. I'm going to start off at this point right here. And I'm going to make a few snaps along the way, like this. Let's see. Let me add a snap there. We'll add a snap here. We'll add a snap here. And we'll go see, we went diagonal 2, so we'll go diagonal 2. So we'll go down here. We'll go here. One more here, and one more there. Okay. And let me go to Exit Tool. And we're going to end up with a very, very nice round shape. But from what we can see in the image, it's not too round. It actually has a sharper edge to it. Not really sharp, but a little more sharper than this. So I'm going to go to Modify, Curve, and I'm going to go to the Add Point tool by CVs. And with the middle mouse button, you can just go ahead and add some points to this. So I can add a point here. Oops. Control Z. And actually, let me get rid of that. With the middle mouse button, don't let go of the middle mouse button. With the Control key, you can snap this to wherever you want. So you can snap it right here, for example, and place it right about, let's see, because if we go up here, it's going to be kind of sharp, maybe a bit too sharp. So let's place it right here, and a little bit rounder. Actually looks pretty good. So with the middle mouse button, I'll hold down the middle mouse button while holding down Control. This allows me to place this right at that point right there. And I can just right click and hit Exit Tool and get out of the tool. And if I look at my points here, the point placement isn't too bad. It's pretty good. Okay. Now what I need to do is move this curve up so it's around here. Alright. So let's see what we can do here. What I need to do is use the same technique I used for creating these pipes down here and extrude them along curve. Instead of creating a new cylinder and trying to place it over there, I'm going to go ahead and recycle my objects here. And I can do that very easily. I'll select these polygons up here. They were actually already selected, but I'll just go ahead and select them again and make sure that those are the only ones that are selected. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to Extract Polygons and Keep, because I want to keep the old ones. I don't want to punch a hole right there, at least not right now. And now with this object selected, I'm going to go to COG. That way my pivot point moves to the center. And what I'm going to do is pretty simple. I'm going to snap it to the vertex that's on this curve, the point that's on that curve right there at the end. So I'm going to turn on point snapping down here. And holding down Control, I'm simply going to click right there on top of that point, and it's going to snap automatically. Now I'll rotate to -90 degrees, as you can see right there. Alright. Next thing to do is I need to scale this up because I want this pipe to be thicker than these right here. So I'm going to scale them up just a little bit, not too much. Don't want too much thickness right there because it's going to look just awkward. I'm going to select these polygons right here. Well, first let me select the object actually and freeze modeling on that. And now let me go ahead and select those polygons. Right click, go to Extrude Along Axis. Oops, I'm sorry about that. Not Extrude Along Axis. Close that PPG. Extrude Along Curve. Don't know where my mind is at. Alright. Now I'm going to turn on per knot. I'm going to increase those subdivisions. I'm going to crank them all the way up to 10. I don't mind. I really don't. Now, with those end polygons selected right here, I'm going to delete them. I don't need them anymore. Close that. I'm going to freeze modeling on that pipe. I'm going to alt right click, hit symmetrize to make the other half. X-axis is good at global reference mode. Alright. Let me go to wireframe mode here. I'm going to select that curve. What I need to do is create the glass piece, because we can see there's a glass piece that goes in the middle right there. Now, we could create the glass piece by using the simple polygon cube and trying to shape it out. But why do all that work when we can do this the easy way, right? So let's do it the easy way. With this curve selected, I'm simply going to hit Control D to duplicate it. And on the duplicate one, which should automatically be selected already, you want to put -1 for the X on the scaling up here in the transform panel. And this will flip it for you automatically and basically symmetrize it for you, so to speak. But they're not going to be connected. What we need to do is connect these curves. So let me actually grab this pipe right here and hit H on the keyboard to hide it. It's really annoying me the way it's getting in my way. Let's select both of these curves. And let's go over here to create curve. And let's go to merge. And now what you want to do is just drag select where these curves meet up. And they meet up right in the middle of that red area right there. And if you don't see this green and red marking area right there, it's actually the boundary of the curve. You go over here to visibility options. And you could turn polymesh boundaries and NURBS boundaries. And you can turn those on and off. You can see the boundaries right there where the two curves meet. So when I'm working with NURBS curves, I like to have the boundaries turned on. And I'll just drag select over that area to select both of those points, and I'll right click. Oops, I'm sorry about that. Let's go to curve and let's go to merge. I'm going to drag select on top of that once and then again to pick the other vertex, and automatically XSI will detect that and join those two curves together. So I'm really not going to mess with any of these settings over here. I'm going to leave it alone because it's using the default the points that I already had, so I really don't want to alter the curve. What I'm going to do is hit hide right here to hide the original curves, and now I just have this one right here. So now it's actually a very simple thing we need to do. With this curve selected, let's go ahead and freeze modeling, just to sever any construction history that it has with anything else, for example the original curves. And let's go to create polymesh, go down here to curves to mesh, and if we go to shaded view, you can see it created a flat object here, flat polygon object, which is great. I'm going to pin down a PPG for that object, and I'm going to hit 8 to open up my Explorer. I'm going to select the pipe that I had hidden before, hit H to bring it back. Okay, now we can see that the glass actually has a little bit of a space between it and the pipe where you can kind of fit your fingers in into that little narrow corridor. I can use the offset parameter to control that, so I can drop the offset to, say, let's try something like -0.5. Okay, that looks good. Alright, next thing that we can do is we can go to the extrude here, and we can actually give this some extrude. Now, be careful, it's a pretty sensitive setting, so don't give it too much extrude. Something like 0.1 seems to work just fine in this case. So we'll leave the glass at 0.1 for now. I don't think we need any more. And then let's go to bevel. And we can add some bevel to this. So with the depth parameter, we can actually add some beveling to this. And if we go ahead and do a render region, we'll see it actually did bevel this for us automatically. So it basically created this object for us off of a curve. And it's easier to draw a curve than it is to try to shape out polygons by hand. So what I'm going to do is go down here to sampling step and knock that down to about 1. So we have a few subdivisions here. And let's see, let's render that out. That amount of beveling looks good. We'll put a glass shader on that later. Okay, the beveling depth, it should be set to something like, let me see, 0.025 actually does look pretty good. Let me look at the image. It's hard to tell the thickness of the glass from the image. I think it should be a little bit less thick, so let's put the length to 0.05, so it's actually half of what it was before, and I think that'll work much better. And now what I want to do is I want to adjust this sort of faceting, which means that it sort of has these hard edges right here because there's just not enough smoothness, not enough geometry there. So what we'll have to do is go to General, and we'll go here to Contour, and we'll add more contours to it. So we'll max it out to something like 8. And that'll give us a nicer, smoother result. Okay, that looks good. That looks smooth enough. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Alright, excellent. Now, the next thing is that the glass actually should be higher. Let me close that PPG, don't need it anymore. With this glass selected, we need to actually move it up because in the picture, it's not in the middle of the pipe. It's actually at about the same level as the pipe. So let me go to a side view here. Let me move it up to about here so it's level with the pipe. Okay, so something like that. And I don't like the space in between. I think the space is too big right now. Let me actually go to a top view. Top view is going to help me to determine that space a lot better. Right now that space is a little bit big. So with this object selected, let me go to selection and let me go to curved mesh converter and click on this icon here to open up the PPG for that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the offset. So I'm going to offset it less. Instead of 0.5, which was too much, looks like 0.3 is pretty good actually. Let's try negative 0.3. That's actually not good enough. Let's try negative 0.4. Okay, negative 0.4 actually looks a lot better. Let's go to the camera view. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. That looks fine. That looks perfectly fine. I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, so the glass table on top is finished. I'm gonna end this video here, and in the next one we'll pick up and continue working on this table.